Most people spend too long trying to rationalize, explain, or fix the behavior of someone who's shown every sign that they don't value or respect them, and in doing so, they trade their peace for chaos and their worth for crumbs. It's easy to get caught in cycles of overthinking, believing that love means tolerance, patience, or giving endless second chances. But the truth is, certain words and actions are red flags not because you're too sensitive, but because they violate your dignity at the deepest level. When someone crosses certain lines, repeated disrespect, manipulation, neglect, or emotional sabotage, they're showing you who they are, and it's your responsibility to believe them the first time. Walking away isn't about being cold or unforgiving, it's about protecting your energy, your self-respect, and your future. In this video, I'm breaking down the exact signs, behaviors, and phrases that should never be excused, tolerated, or overlooked. If you see these in your life, it's not just a warning, it's the moment to reclaim your power, choose yourself, and leave for good. This is your blueprint for recognizing when to stop explaining and start exiting, so you can protect your peace and never settle for less than you deserve. Chronic disrespect is the first and most dangerous red flag because repeated put-downs, sarcasm disguised as jokes, or consistently dismissive language are never harmless. They are signals of deep-seated contempt and a lack of fundamental regard for your dignity. It starts small, a sly remark about your intelligence, an eye roll when you share your opinion, or a backhanded compliment that leaves you second-guessing yourself. Over time, this kind of behavior erodes your self-worth, making you question if you're too sensitive or if you're imagining things. But make no mistake, when someone regularly uses words as weapons, it's not just about a bad mood or a rough day. It's a pattern that reveals how they truly see you. Chronic disrespect is never just about the words themselves. It's about the mindset behind them, a belief that you're inferior, that your feelings don't matter, or that they can get away with treating you as less. And the longer you tolerate this, the more permission you give them to keep doing it until your boundaries are worn thin and your confidence is gone. No relationship, friendship, or partnership can survive when one person's default is to cut the other down. If you notice a cycle of sarcastic digs, public humiliation, or constant undermining, understand that respect is not something you negotiate or earn, it's the baseline. The moment you feel chronic disrespect is the moment to leave, because anyone who truly values you will never make a habit of putting you down.
Broken promises and excuses are the silent assassins of trust, quietly undermining any hope for real connection or security in a relationship. It might start with a few missed plans or a forgotten favor, but when apologies turn into a script and excuses pile up every time they let you down, you're witnessing a pattern, not an accident. Someone who genuinely cares will go out of their way to keep their word because they understand that trust is built, not given. But those who break promises and then offer empty apologies are showing you exactly how little your time, needs, and feelings matter to them. Over time, you find yourself making excuses for them. They're just busy, they're under pressure, it's not a big deal. But deep down, you know the truth. If you really mattered, keeping a promise wouldn't require reminders or a crisis. Excuses are a mask for deeper character flaws, laziness, entitlement, or a belief that you'll accept whatever crumbs they throw your way. If you feel a constant sense of disappointment, find yourself hoping this time will be different, or notice that your expectations have shrunk to avoid feeling let down, it's time to recognize this for what it is, a sign that this person will never show up for you consistently. You deserve reliability, honesty, and action, not words that sound good but never turn into reality. Broken promises are not just a disappointment. They are a declaration that your trust is optional, not essential. When you see this pattern, don't wait for another excuse. Leave and show yourself that your loyalty will never again be wasted on empty words. Controlling behavior is one of the most toxic and insidious red flags because it rarely starts as outright domination. Instead, it creeps in as subtle possessiveness, guilt-tripping, or manipulation disguised as care. It might look like someone constantly questioning your whereabouts, criticizing your friends, dictating what you should wear, or using jealousy as a weapon to make you second-guess your own boundaries. Sometimes it's a persistent need to monitor your social media, demand constant updates, or pressure you to sacrifice your independence in the name of love. These behaviors are never about concern or closeness. They are about control, insecurity, and a desire to own your choices rather than share your life. The more you comply, the more the net tightens. Freedom shrinks, your confidence erodes, and you start doubting your own judgment. Often, controlling people mask their actions as protectiveness or claim it's about their own past trauma. But the real issue is their unwillingness to trust or respect your autonomy. No matter how much you accommodate, it will never be enough, because control is an addiction that feeds on your submission. If you find yourself walking on eggshells, asking permission, or feeling anxious about asserting your independence, you are already trapped in someone else's power game. True connection requires mutual respect and freedom, not invisible chains. The moment you see repeated attempts to limit your choices or guilt you for being yourself, recognize it as a deal breaker. Walk away before your identity is lost to someone else's insecurity.
Emotional manipulation is the invisible poison that corrodes your sense of reality and self-trust, showing up in forms like gaslighting, blame-shifting, and guilt so subtle you start to question your own sanity. It's when someone twists your words, rewrites history, or blames you for problems they caused, all to avoid accountability and maintain control. Sometimes it's a constant pattern of making you feel guilty for expressing needs or boundaries. After all I've done for you, how could you ask for more? Or making you believe you're overreacting, too emotional, or even responsible for their moods and mistakes. These tactics aren't always obvious. They can come wrapped in concern, with the manipulator painting themselves as the victim and you as the cause of every issue. The damage is insidious, your confidence erodes, your world narrows, and you become increasingly dependent on their approval to validate your reality. Gaslighting is especially dangerous because it makes you doubt what you saw, felt, or know to be true, leaving you stuck in endless cycles of apology and self-doubt. The worst part is how quickly emotional manipulation becomes normalized. One day you're questioning them, the next you're questioning yourself. No one deserves to have their mind twisted as a tool for someone else's comfort or control. The first sign of these behaviors, no matter how subtle, is a signal to leave. True connection uplifts and empowers. Manipulation corrodes and traps. If you recognize patterns of gaslighting, blame-shifting, or guilt, you don't owe another explanation or chance. It's your cue to protect your sanity and walk away for good. Lack of empathy is a flashing red warning sign that most people try to excuse or explain away. But it is impossible to build a healthy connection with someone who simply refuses to care about your pain or celebrate your joy. You'll notice it in moments when you're struggling, when you reach out for comfort and are met with cold indifference, dismissive comments, or even annoyance. Or maybe when something good happens for you, and instead of support or genuine excitement, you're met with envy, criticism, or a complete lack of interest. This isn't about someone having a bad day or being temporarily distracted. It's a pattern of emotional unavailability that runs deep. When your emotions are always minimized, ignored, or turned against you, it slowly teaches you to suppress your needs and keep your happiness or struggles to yourself. Over time, you start to believe you're asking for too much or that your feelings are a burden, but the reality is simple. Empathy is the foundation of any real connection. If someone can't sit with your discomfort, celebrate your growth, or even acknowledge your humanity, they're showing you there is no space in their world for your heart. You can't teach someone to care or force them to see your value. Trying will only exhaust you and chip away at your self-worth. If you're always left feeling alone, unsupported, or invisible, it's not a challenge to fix. It's a clear sign to leave.
Your soul deserves to be seen, heard, and valued. Never settle for less. Consistent neglect is one of the clearest signs that it's time to walk away, because when someone always puts you last, ignoring your needs, forgetting important dates, or failing to show up emotionally and physically, they're silently telling you where you stand in their world. At first, it might feel like a busy season or a rough patch, but when being overlooked becomes the norm, you begin to realize it's a pattern, not an accident. The calls get shorter, the texts go unanswered, your wins and struggles are met with indifference, and your presence is treated as optional rather than cherished. Over time, this chronic neglect chips away at your sense of worth and belonging, making you question whether you're expecting too much or simply too needy. But the truth is, everyone deserves to feel prioritized and valued by those they let close. When you're always the one reaching out, always adjusting to their schedule, or always making excuses for why your needs don't matter, you're fighting a losing battle for scraps of attention. No matter how much potential you see or how many times they promise to do better, if their actions don't change, neither will the reality. Consistent neglect is not a challenge to overcome. It's a mirror reflecting back how little you're valued. The moment you recognize this cycle, stop rationalizing and start respecting yourself. Leave before you shrink your spirit to fit someone else's indifference. Your time and energy are sacred, and anyone who can't see that is never worth another day of waiting. Envy and sabotage are toxic forces that slowly poison any relationship or friendship, revealing themselves through subtle put-downs, discouragement, or attempts to undermine your growth. It starts quietly, maybe a backhanded compliment when you share good news, a dismissive comment about your ambitions, or visible discomfort when you talk about your progress. Instead of cheering you on, this person finds ways to minimize your achievements or make you doubt your own potential, often under the guise of just being honest or looking out for you. Over time, you begin to sense that your success triggers their insecurity, and rather than feel inspired, they feel threatened. In the worst cases, envy becomes sabotage. They might discourage you from pursuing opportunities, withhold support at critical moments, or even gossip and spread doubt about you behind your back. The problem with keeping people like this in your circle is that their energy quietly chips away at your self-belief, making it harder to celebrate your wins or dream bigger. The healthiest connections are those where your growth is celebrated, not resented, where your wins are shared joy, not silent competition. If you notice patterns of envy, subtle sabotage, or an inability to be happy for your progress, understand that you can't build a future with someone committed to holding you back. The right people inspire you to rise higher. The wrong ones try to keep you small. When you spot envy or sabotage, don't try to fix or convince. Walk away and protect the space where your ambition can thrive. Non-negotiable boundaries are the final and most important test, because once someone crosses the line of abuse, dishonesty, or betrayal, there is nothing left to talk about, explain, or forgive. It doesn't matter how sincere their apologies sound, how many tears they shed, or how many times they promise to change. Some things are deal breakers by their very nature. Abuse in any form, emotional, physical, financial, or verbal, destroys safety and self-worth. Dishonesty erodes trust at the root, making every future promise empty and every reassurance suspect. Betrayal, whether it's cheating, secret-keeping, or a violation of your deepest vulnerabilities, leaves a wound that words cannot heal. These are not moments for negotiation or compromise. They are moments for absolute clarity. The person who truly values you will never ask you to accept abuse, live with lies, or tolerate being second to anyone or anything. No amount of history, potential, or shared memories can outweigh the cost of losing yourself to someone else's disregard. When your boundaries are crossed in these fundamental ways, the only way to reclaim your power is to walk away without hesitation or regret. This isn't about punishing them, it's about honoring yourself. Leaving isn't just the healthiest option, it's the only option for anyone committed to a life of self-respect and peace. The highest form of love is the one you show to yourself when you refuse to stay where your spirit is broken. Some lines once crossed are never uncrossed. Your future deserves better than anyone willing to test your non-negotiables. If you recognize even one of these patterns, chronic disrespect, broken promises, controlling behavior, emotional manipulation, lack of empathy, neglect, envy, or violations of your core boundaries, understand that no amount of love or loyalty can fix what someone refuses to change. Walking away isn't weakness, it's the highest form of self-respect. You don't owe endless chances to anyone who's shown you time and time again that your peace and worth are negotiable to them. Your future, happiness, and sanity are too valuable to be gambled on someone else's potential or empty promises. Protect your spirit by choosing yourself and leaving at the first sign of these deal breakers. Subscribe for more grounded, empowering strategies. Drop a comment with your story or your non-negotiables. Share this with someone who needs the reminder. Real love, real friendship, and real respect never come at the cost of your soul.